Hello and welcome to Cutoff Genes, the podcast that teaches you how to find your truth using nothing but DNA. I'm Julie Dixon Jackson, and I'm a genetic genealogist, henceforth known as a Gen Genie.
And I am Renee Colbert. I'm here to ask the questions.
I'm Richard Castle, the producer, and I am here to add my Y chromosome. Why? Because we like you.
Oh, boy. Yeah, out of the gate.
And it begins.
Exactly. He didn't even give him a chance to warm up. Everybody just put in their headphones, and out of the gate, we're doing it to him. All right.
Once you've worked for Disney, it stays in your blood.
Sure, of course.
What happened to me
Do
then?
they...
Oh, yeah. Maybe that explains it.
A little, I mean, you said it. Pavlov, you said it.
The Wicked Queen? I don't know.
I resemble that remark.
Wait, do you guys start off with the morning cheer? When you work at Disney, do you have to sing the Mickey Mouse Club
It's not
theme
summer
song?
camp, Renee. It's a job.
It's like the pledge, right?
Have you never worked at Disney?
Mickey. I worked at El Capitan, the theater over here.
So
But yeah,
did
I figured, but once you're in the park,
It's the
You
same.
have to-
It's
okay.
virtually the same.
all right.
I don't know. I'm taking
Well,
my
if I ever
glasses
work there, I'm going to implement that we say pledge allegiance, but instead it's the Mickey Mouse Club
To
theme
the
song
ears
to the castle.
of the-
Yes.
Already, we're off the rails. Hey, guys, guess what?
What?
It's episode 20.
Come on. Look at us.
It's crazy.
Next week, we're going to be an adult. We're legal
Next week,
week.
the podcast can legally go into a bar.
Yeah, we've been drinking here for several weeks, so I don't know what that says.
know.
Underage drinking, underage podcasting.
Call the authorities.
That's really exciting. That 20. That's nuts. It feels like we just got started. Mm-hmm. Well, good job. And good job to all of our listeners who've
Good
made
job,
it 20
listeners. Thank you
episodes.
so much. You know what? Every time I ask you guys to share, apparently you do. So I'm going to ask you once again, please share.
Yes.
Because we're getting out there. And as I've said, the more you share and the more you rate and review and blah, 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 the higher our visibility is to like-minded people. So people who want to hear what we're talking about.
Yeah. And it means a lot. Because I sometimes don't. I'm like, oh, everybody else is doing it. But no, they're not. You gotta give it a share.
Yeah, it's hard for
Yeah,
me.
I know. I know.
right.
But your listeners are doing great.
Sure.
To those who have, thank you. And to those who haven't, think about it.
All right.
What do we got, Julie?
Hey,
Big
let's
day?
get started.
All right.
So today, instead of Corrections Corner,
Yes.
we will be having Clarification Corner.
Ooh, I like it.
How about that?
I love it.
It was a fun noise. All right. So we talked last week about the 1890 census.
Right.
Remember,
Yes.
and how
Yeah.
it disappeared.
Yes.
And I didn't know why, but it was probably destroyed in the fire because that's an excuse for
Everything.
every missing document ever on the
Right.
face of the earth. Turns out, was a fire.
Look at you. Good guess.
Yeah. So there was a fire at the Commerce Department in D.C. on January 10th, 1921. Some fragments were saved, but not many. And I think they like sell them on eBay or something.
God, that'd be so curious.
So what's this in
Yeah.
this frame here in the bathroom? Well, that's a fragment of the 1890.
That's nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah. What you can piece together.
Yeah.
I know.
So more facts about the census, since we're on that
Thank God.
subject.
I was like, don't just leave me with one, Julie.
Yeah,
I
know.
need more.
I know. So I said that the newest census we're allowed to access right now is the
Right.
1940 census.
Okay.
And they, every 10 years, I guess they release the
The next 10
soon
years.
it'll be
Okay.
in 2022. It'll
Okay.
be the 1950 census, and we're all going to lose our minds.
Sure. Yeah.
So there's a 72-year rule that was mandated by federal law for privacy issues.
Yeah. That makes it. You know what'll be curious is just because human life expectancy is expanding by the day. If they're, what did I do? You gave me a face.
You
I'm
took
getting
the
a
words
face.
right
I'm so
out of my
sorry.
mouth.
Okay. Yes. What's interesting about this, Julie?
Well, I wrote, why 72?
Yes.
The most common explanation is that when the rule was set, 72 years was the average lifespan.
This makes sense.
Boom.
Right. Yeah. That seems right in front of you. Right.
Yep.
But what I am curious about, though, because people live longer and longer and longer, like,
Yeah.
will that eventually get extended?
Maybe, or maybe they're just going to give up altogether and nobody has privacy anyway.
Because DNA, I think.
Because DNA.
Yeah. they're
And
like,
because
we're gonna
people
find
like
you
me.
anyway. Right.
All right. Here's some news. The consumer DNA testing company that we all know, 23andMe, is testing whether users want far more information about their health for a steeper fee. according to several people familiar with the plan. Some users have been getting notifications in recent weeks about a $749 premium service.
How much?
$749. But reported that nothing happened when they clicked on the link.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a far more expensive offering.
Yeah.
Than the company's most expensive product, which sells for $199. I wonder if this is a Canadian or Australian article because it's $99 here, I think.
Possibly.
Or no, maybe $125.
Do you know what that gets you for that steep price?
Well, I do.
Okay.
Well, I don't, but I'm speculating.
Right.
So if 23andMe were to offer a premium service, it would compete with startups like Veritas Genetics. It sells its whole genome sequencing test for $1,000 and up, depending on whether the user wants to purchase additional reports and analyses. People are speculating that this new enhanced version of health reports is just what 23andMe used to provide before they were sidelined by the FBI. I mean, the FBI.
The FBI.
The FDA.
You know the old FBI.
The Federal Bar Association. That's where lawyers drink.
Obviously. Right. Yes.
So, because before that, so they were sidelined by the FDA because they hadn't regulated how people can receive this information. So when they finally let them do it again, they pulled back on what they were allowed to know.
Right.
So they were allowed to reveal what you have the capability of developing.
Right.
But not what is most likely that you'll develop, if that makes sense.
It makes perfect sense. I also am now listen, I don't want to know anything about anything ever. I find that blind stupidity is a great way to get through life. But the thing that I'm curious about with this is that we haven't done enough studies. You haven't done hey, you're susceptible to this, and then here's the and then it did happen for you or not. I don't know. I just think we're scaring people for no reason. Maybe not.
But they're choosing to do it. I don't know.
I don't like it.
So somebody, actually a friend of mine, I'm going to quote her, but I'm not going to say who it was because I didn't get her permission.
Okay.
So she said part of the FDA's concern was that the consumer wouldn't understand the information presented to them. 23andMe is now allowed to do health reports even for quantitative traits that increase risk, like Alzheimer's, but aren't definitive, like sickle cell. But the FDA vets the reports. And she said they have to be understandable at an 8th grade level.
And what do you think about that? What do you think about charging people $700 to get a fortune telling of how you're going to die?
I mean, if they want of how you're going to die. Well, now that you put it that way, I don't think I'm interested.
Yeah.
I don't know.
How about you, Rich? Would you want to know?
You know, I want to know everything, but I'm also, like you say, you don't want to know anything.
Right.
But I want to know everything, and then I want to live in denial about it.
Sure, yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
Because that's what we
sounds
do.
like the worst hell ever.
Welcome to my world.
Oh, wow.
That's interesting. I mean, I think that's a question like you used to ask at a party of if you could know how you were going to die, would you want to know?
No.
And now it's a reality. Yeah, I don't like it.
No.
Yeah. No
Please.
thanks. No thanks.
I'm more wrestling with the idea of the FDA sort of policing this and as if we're children. Like we should have rights to know what we want.
Right.
But what we know about our lives and our possible future and our DNA. And I don't know how I feel about the government, sort of policing that.
Mm-hmm. Or requiring it to be at an 8th grade
what
level.
He said. Yeah. Okay. So, it looks like they're just kind of sending up a weather balloon right now just to see how people react, and whether or not they want to implement this, because it would involve a lot more analyses.
That the FDA has a hold of it, because it seems on par with you can't scream fire in a crowded theater type of thing, just dangerous. We're going to make people panic with this information.
They're exactly the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Yeah, according to me, they are. Yeah.
They actually are. It's illegal to do that.
Right, exactly. So it's illegal to scare people by
the
being
more you know, everybody.
Sickle cell in a crowded theater. You can't yell it.
Hey, I was watching Dateline last Friday, as you do, and there was another story about Parabon Nanolabs that we are familiar with, that Cece Moore is heading up their genetic genealogy crime unit.
Yes, I remember.
How's that?
Good. Okay.
Parabon Nanolabs featured on Dateline last Friday, in which it used its snapshot forensic analysis service to identify the attacker of a young woman who was almost beaten to death by an intruder more than 10 years ago. She had no memory of the event and therefore couldn't provide a description. Mm-hmm. So, of course, this was a 2-hour episode, and they go through everything, and then they retell you the same thing. But the bottom line is, towards the end, they got to the Parabon extravaganza, and there was some blood that was not the victim's collected at the crime scene. So they went to Parabon and used this
snapshot
extravaganza.
technology.
Yes.
Okay.
So using DNA collected at the scene that was not the victim's, snapshot generated a composite sketch of the person to whom the DNA belongs.
Whew. Nuts.
It provides such features as exact eye color, facial structure, skin and hair coloring, and even body type.
The facial structure thing is nuts.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's not the image that it provided didn't look exactly like the guy, but it looked way more like him than she had described from what she thought was her memory.
Right.
So using this composite that was generated by Snapshot, along with a random memory of the name of a guy that the victim had known from a mall she worked in, just one day, this name came to her head, and she didn't even know why, but it just kept coming back into her head.
Wow.
So she told them, and so they found him. This was 10 years later. He was married, had kids.
What?
Yeah.
And that was his name, the name that kept coming to her head.
Yeah. They went and looked for him.
Sure.
Specifically because of that name, and asked for a DNA sample, and he refused. So they used the old passive collection technique, which is
trash?
following somebody and going through their McDonald's trash. It was McDonald's, actually. Yeah. And long story short, perfect match.
Holy crap.
It was him.
That's nuts.
Yep.
So now what happens? Is it a trial or
He's
is it
in
just straight
prison.
to jail?
It's over.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
That is curious. If it's a 100% DNA match, is there a trial? Or is it just like, this is the verdict?
Yeah, there's a trial, but he ended up pleading.
Sure.
Plea deal.
Crazy.
Is that what it is? Yeah.
That's nuts.
He still denies it.
Wow, that's and Dateline did that? So if people want to hear the whole thing, they can find it on Dateline?
And they can see it too.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So,
No, close your eyes. Just listen.
All right. I have one more crazy story.
Yes.
When I'm working on cases, and I've been working on a lot lately, I usually work on more than one at a time. First of all, I want to say everybody has coincidence in their life.
Right.
I believe I have more than the average person.
I agree.
Okay. Thank you for that.
You're welcome. I've known you long enough that
I
you
appreciate
do have a lot of
Yeah.
coincidence in your
It's
life.
weird.
What a coincidence. So do I.
You guys.
See, it's happening. Okay. So I was working on these two cases. I'm looking for one woman's mother and another woman's father.
Okay.
So the one woman whose father I was looking for, she was a recent NPE.
Okay.
And so she had narrowed it down, and I had narrowed it down to the probability of one of 4 brothers.
Right.
And in order to really confirm that, I needed to find a connection from their mother, because we already had the connection from their father.
Right.
Needed to find it from the connection from their mother to one of the DNA matches, so that I could wrap it all up and show that, yes, it's got to be one of these.
Right.
So let's say the mother's maiden name was Bjorgi.
Okay.
It wasn't.
Okay.
It's just a
But
name
that's
I
fun,
like.
though. That's
Yeah, I know.
good. I'm glad you made it real complicated just when we're making it up.
Well,
that's better.
It was an unusual name like that.
Okay.
So so on that day, I was trying to see if I could find more stuff about the mother. And I knew she was from West Virginia and blah, 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 blah. And I looked up, and I actually at one point found some obituaries, and I found this one that I couldn't, it was poorly written on that it was a white lettering on a light pink screen, and my eyes couldn't adjust to it. So I was like, nah, she's not the right age anyway. So I went off it. Fast forward to the next day.
Yeah.
I'm looking for my other client's mother.
Okay.
Now, we have a name for this client's mother, and she...
Oh, like
that
the
is
actual
the name
name,
that was
not
the
her,
actual name.
not a
Well,
nickname of.
It could have been a made-up
Stinky
name
Pants.
for
That's mean. You don't know her,
Stinky Pants.
right?
That's it.
Okay,
So
gotcha.
the name is, it's a certain name that was on her adoption records, and her father's family found her recently
Crazy.
on Ancestry.
Okay.
And her father confirmed the mother's name,
Okay.
first and last.
Nuts.
So
All
we're
right.
thinking, I guess that's it. The fact is she's probably married now, which is why we haven't been able to find her.
Yeah. Yeah.
Without using DNA.
Right.
So I was like, how can I find? So I figured out I was getting very, very close.
Right.
And I was like, if I could just find her married name, it would be
That'd be great.
amazing.
Yeah.
So I went ahead and I Googled her name, her maiden name,
Yeah.
and pushed the little
Send.
search button.
Yeah.
And the first thing that came up said, you last visited this site yesterday.
Okay.
And I was like,
I did.
that's weird. So I opened it, and it was the exact same obituary that I'd looked at from the separate case.
What?
The exact obituary. I'm getting chills
What?
thinking about it because it freaked me out.
That's crazy.
No relationship whatsoever. This woman whose married name was Bjorgi happened to be the mother's sister.
What?
And so the mother's name was in there and her married name.
That's incredible, Julie. That's
And this was an
crazy.
obituary from last year. So the search that I did the day before helped
Yeah.
me find the search on a completely separate case
Yeah,
on
no,
this
that's
random Bjorgi name.
God, we're all connected.
So
It's nuts.
I know. And people will tell you there is no coincidence, like everything means something.
Sure.
But there's no way that they're connected other than some kind of weird energy that was.
Yeah.
I know.
At the very least, that's interesting. At the very most, oh my gosh, you have a gift. Oh my God.
I wish I knew how to use it. I really do. All right,
That's crazy.
So that's
Okay.
that's that nutty story. I had to tell you guys because it's one of the craziest things, and
You know
a lot
what's
of crazy
so
things.
funny
have
about
happened.
that is you're your own assistant. Where you're just like, oh, here's the research I've done for you as you look it up yourself. That's crazy.
All right, I'm exhausted. Let's take a break.
If you're enjoying Cutoff Jeans, please subscribe, rate, and review. Now back to Julie and Renee.
And we're back. So
Yes.
this week, something fun happened on in the Ancestry DNA world. Actually, not Ancestry DNA, but involving Ancestry DNA.
Okay.
So Blaine Bettinger, the Gen Genie to end all Gen Genies,
Right.
he's amazing.
Yes.
Said he's been working with a programmer to add a colored circle tagging feature to Ancestry DNA matches using a extension, a Chrome extension.
Okay.
So you can download it and it works directly with Ancestry and makes it be able to do things that Ancestry can't make it do.
Cool.
Does that make sense?
Well, I don't understand computers.
It's an
obviously.
extension.
Clear.
Right. Well, neither do I,
But it
but-
sounds like a widget or whatever you
I
would
guess,
add.
yes.
Okay, yeah.
I don't know if widget's a word. It's an extension.
Widget.
No, widget is the
Widget,
word,
okay,
but
okay.
that's how you pronounce it.
We all remember Paul
Widget.
McCarthy Gate. Renee's not great with words.
McCarthy Gate.
Wasn't great. It wasn't great. Okay, so but yeah, so,
yes.
it's something
So,
that they can add to it. Okay.
Ancestry users, specifically the serious Ancestry DNA users, have been begging Ancestry to give us something like that because there is a star thing that they have next to your matches,
Right.
But you only get one color star. And so you can separate, I guess, your maternal from your paternal, but that's it. You can't separate it by line, So this gives you 8 different color options that you can label, and you can go through your matches and look at your, even if you don't know
Right.
how they connect,
Yeah.
by using your shared ancestor hints, yeah, or your matches in common,
Okay.
on Ancestry DNA,
Right.
You can give them that same color. So just by looking at it, you know that they are somehow connected to that line. So you know how to look
So
or where to
helpful.
look.
That's so helpful.
It's a game changer.
Yeah.
is what it is. So it's just in beta right now.
right.
And it has it's a little clunky in some places.
Sure.
And in fact, I don't know, it can only be used in the U.S., at the U.S. Ancestry address and is only available on Chrome. But we've been trying it out and giving feedback as to how it could be improved. And
Are you one of the beta testers? Have you checked it out?
Apparently, we're all one of the beta
great.
testers.
Okay.
Anyone who talks to,
Sure.
to Blaine.
Okay, good.
But it's really
And a total game changer.
total game changer.
Okay.
Yes, just in organizing your different lines.
Yeah.
It's
So nutty.
Yeah, it's
Do you
great.
think that
So
they
thanks,
will
Blaine.
eventually adapt that into their own website? That they'll pick up that feature?
Well, they haven't yet. So
Oh, Ancestry, you're not being good listeners.
they're
People
not.
want it.
No, they don't. They're not listening. And we're all a little sad.
Sure.
But we want to thank the heavens for Blaine Bettinger and his programmer friend.
Yeah, this is amazing. Now, is this just something that anybody can get a hold of, or are we eventually going to have to pay for it?
Usually they're free. Most of the Chrome extensions are
Right.
free,
God, that's
just
nice.
developed by awesome people. And it'll eventually probably be able to be used on other platforms too.
Right.
But
In Ancestry's selfish defense, if somebody else did it, might as well let them do it for free instead of us applying it.
yeah, why would they want to pay
there's not
somebody?
a lot of
if
incentive
people
there.
will do it for free.
Right, exactly.
Thanks,
but either
Ancestor.
way, I'm glad that it's been developed. It sounds awesome.
It's cool.
Cool.
That's all I have.
Okay, you want to take a break?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Thank you for listening to Cutoff Genes, the new podcast starring Julie Dixon-Jackson with Renee Colvin.
We're back.
Yahoo! I missed ya.
Yahoo! Hey, this is a big one today, you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's fitting. It's episode 20. You want to do something
know.
big for the...
Timely.
Yeah,
For the big 2-0.
Time this
oh,
out
wait,
real
maybe
well.
we should save for 21.
Yeah,
because
yeah,
then
all
it'll be
right, well,
legal.
see you guys next
Never
week.
mind.
No, because by the time people listen to this, they'll be ready for 21, and then they can have a drink.
Right. Thank you. See, we planned it out perfectly.
I don't blame them.
Exactly. We'll go to our therapist this week. Next week, we drink.
All right. Before I start this, the Epic Odyssey, there have been questions from listeners about how Malcolm reacted when I told him he wasn't my father.
Oh, yeah.
Because they want to,
Sure.
which is legit. I guess I didn't say anything.
I also, as the question person, probably could have done that. Listeners, I let you down. I'm sorry. Hey, Julie, how'd Malcolm react?
Oh, funny you should ask, Renee.
Yeah, good. I've been thinking about it.
So I called Malcolm, and I broke it to him. And I said, and he of course just went into that whole thing. How are we? What are we doing? I'm just doing, just his
Of course.
thing that he does. And I
Right.
said, I have something to tell you.
Yeah.
And he said, all right. And I said, your DNA results came back and you're not my father.
Yeah.
And I don't remember exactly how it went, but I know for a fact that he seemed genuinely disappointed.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a little bit touching, even though he drove me crazy.
Sure. Well, here's what I would glean from that. I think crazy people, when they align themselves with a cool person, are just like, yeah, like that. I'm just like that. And so when you found out that you weren't related, he didn't have any cool
No,
alibis.
I understand that. I mean, if somebody came and said that they were related to you and you welcomed them into your family and you accepted that, and then, that was your new normal, and then suddenly they said, oh, by the way, no, it's not true.
Yeah.
I would feel a sense of disappointment for sure.
No. You know what I think
Whoopsie.
is fun is that none of us have considered that maybe he was feeling bad for you because his character has been established
Because he
so well.
doesn't think about anybody else.
Exactly.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was a pretty textbook narcissist.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
Okay.
So that was how Malcolm reacted.
Blue. And then you guys haven't stayed in touch, right?
No.
Okay. All right. Was
No,
that
we
your final chat with him?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was.
Okay.
It was. I've stayed in touch with my one sister, Louie.
Right.
A little bit,
Okay.
but that's about it.
Okay.
And you mentioned in a previous podcast, I believe, that you sent back the pictures and things like that they had given, the family photos and things that they had given you as a token, to remember them by.
Yeah, I did. I held on to them for a while because I wasn't sure what to do with them. I didn't want to send them to Malcolm because I think they had originally come from Kim. And I felt like they would go by the wayside and, they would be gone from the family. So
Smart.
eventually Kim contacted me, actually,
Okay.
and asked for them. So I sent them to her.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Yeah. God, it's so weird. It's so weird how people just come into your life for a second and then they're just gone forever.
like
Weird.
the wind.
Yeah.
Is
Okay.
it like the wind? Is that what that
Say
saying
like the
is?
wind? Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So let's continue. When last we spoke,
Yes.
I was waiting for my potential half-brother / first cousin Rob's DNA results.
Right. And
to
he was
come
super
back.
kind and nice.
He was very nice.
Okay.
I spent several weeks, because it took several weeks it had to come back, and then Ancestry is a bit laggy on getting the results back, so I knew it would be about at least 6 weeks.
Okay.
So I had to
Julie,
occupy my
that's
mind.
so long.
I know.
Yeah.
I did a lot of research. I did so much more research on the family, though.
Right.
Because I knew at least that this was my family.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I found out some nutty stuff that I'll get to at another time. So it took about 6 weeks, which is standard for Ancestry. And July 13th, it was a Thursday, everyone.
Okay.
I did my thing where I go about my day and I would probably check Ancestry 7 times
At
a
least.
day,
Sure.
maybe,
Yeah.
just to see. And so
That's honestly
yeah.
a lot of restraint considering what's coming in.
well, I never log out of Ancestry, so it's
course.
not like I have to work just to turn the computer on. So all of a sudden, the page was different,
Uh-oh.
and it said his DNA results were in.
Yes.
This was it.
How are you feeling? Like, is it that kind of like ice cold veins?
Yeah, it's that
heart
that
pounding
thing where you can feel your heart pounding in your throat.
Yep.
And you know that this is big.
Yeah.
So I clicked on it, and I clicked on View All DNA Matches, which is on your main DNA page, and I held my breath, and up popped what I'd been hoping, nay, expecting
Yes.
to see. I was at the top of the list.
Yes.
Under close family. Now, you get the distinction of being close family if you are a sibling or a half sibling, grandparents, aunts and uncles, and first cousins.
Okay. Yeah.
So there was still no definitive, I could still be a first cousin. So,
Sure. Okay.
So far, so good.
Yeah.
Right.
It's good, but we're doing better than we were.
Yes. So then I clicked on the little eye. There's a eye with a dot above it icon that tells me how many centimorgans. I've told you all about that before. And it said 1339 centimorgans across 46 DNA segments.
Okay.
So the next thing to do is look at the what I've been referring to as the green sheet that is on the 23andMe group.
Right.
That gives you the parameters of what
That
is
means.
what
Yeah.
that means, basically what you can be if you share this much.
Right.
So I looked at it for like an eternity. So to be half siblings, you have to be in the range of 1,300 to 2,300,
Which you were.
which I was.
Narrowly, but you were.
But I also noticed that to be a first cousin, it was 575 to 1330.
God.
So I was right
You
in
get both.
I was 9 over
for the first
cutoff
cousin.
for the first cousin, but just 9. So
Yeah.
that's not,
Yeah.
and for,
Yeah.
normally it would be, okay, fine. But it's exactly what we needed. It still wasn't 100%.
Right.
So
The numbers could have just been a little higher to
just
guarantee
a little
half
higher.
sibling.
And
Yeah.
typical that would happen for me, because most people have when they find a half sibling, it's like around 1,700. That's the
Yeah.
standard.
Yeah.
But it's not unusual to be an outlier, a little low or a little high.
I so wanted you to just open up that screen and have like fireworks go off and says, "You found your father."
Right. So did I.
Funny.
Yeah, it was a bummer.
Yeah.
So
They should do that feature, though. Ancestry, while we're giving ideas, do that widget and add fireworks when you find your father. Those are our suggestions.
widget fireworks. Check. Okay. So I screenshotted and what it said.
Right.
And of course put it on the DNA Detectives page and the other expert pages where the real experts live, and started to get a barrage of opinions.
What's everybody saying?
Most believe that it was a half sibling,
Good.
while others agreed but cautioned that there's a small possibility of a high matching first cousin.
Okay.
Which was my fear.
Right.
I expected to see higher.
Yeah.
And it was a bummer. So Cece Moore and some of the other administrators started having a debate about the circumstances, possible scenarios, and percentages. It turned into a whole math problem.
Right.
Which is a nightmare, as we know, for me. So about 6 hours later, I finally decided I was going to message Rob
Yeah.
and let him know.
Right.
So I texted him and I said, hey, your results are in. Do you want to hear them?
Yeah. Perfect.
Now, he said, why not? In hindsight,
Yeah.
I probably should have taken his cue because he didn't sound like he was in a great place.
Fair. Okay.
So when I told him, I sent him the images and the graphs and all
Yeah.
that. And then I told him that I was almost positive.
Right.
Almost.
Right.
But there seemed to be a tiny margin of error.
Right.
And we were texting. I couldn't hear his voice, but I could tell he was starting to have somewhat of an anxiety attack. He was at work and he was having a tough day. And
Sure.
apparently he turned completely white. And
Oh, wow.
And people were like, are you okay?
Yeah.
So, and I, of course, didn't get that through text.
It's hard. It is so hard to know tone in text.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. There needs to be text tone.
There
tone
does.
Text.
Yeah. Or just like a font. We've got all these kinds of fonts. Put it on irritated. So that I
much
know
so.
when I say why not, I'm like, why
Widget,
not?
more widgets,
Yeah,
everybody.
yeah, yeah.
All right. So I could tell he was like, really?
Yeah.
And we were both bummed, I think, because we both wanted that aha moment, that celebratory thing.
Right.
But we didn't have it.
Yeah.
It sucked.
Yeah.
So I told him, hey, why don't we track down one of Max's kids?
Great.
The uncle,
Great.
and I'll see if I can get him to test. And he said, okay, that's probably a good idea. Wah, wah.
All right.
So, you know,
Yeah.
so as the evening progressed, I kept monitoring the conversations going back and forth. I made Rob a member of the group so he could see what other people were saying as well.
Smart.
So that he could understand, you know, why this is.
What's going on here?
It's like I said, it's just there's a margin of error that we weren't comfortable with. By Saturday in Australia, I texted him again, and he had the time to process
Sure.
and all that, and he seemed much more relaxed. And he'd been looking at the conversations. And
I'm sorry, Julie. I have
Yeah.
a question.
Yep.
Is this common, this kind of margin of error? I mean, you've been doing this longer now, and you've solved a lot of cases. So do you find this margin of error often?
yes, but not when it's this significant. Here's the thing. Like, if I was sure that Clive was my father and there were no other options and that's what came up, it would have been definitive because there weren't any other options. But because there was one other option, you have to
Yeah.
kind of weigh it and try to be more specific. So I was talking to him and he said, you know what? I thought about it. I think it's okay. I don't think you need to find Max's kids. I think, I said, oh, okay. But, let's just keep listening and talking to the people and see if they can come up with something.
Sure.
Well, sure enough, there's a lady named Laura McGuire who is a genealogist, a genetic genealogist. And she was familiar with my story and she understand the whole thing. And she was like, okay, let me look at your GEDmatch.
Right.
The numbers were higher on GEDmatch.
Okay.
Which they
That's
usually are.
promising and
Yes,
helpful.
A little
Good.
bit higher. She's an expert at chromosome mapping. And she literally looked at it and went chromosome by chromosome as to how Rob and I matched.
Right.
Because I, of course, uploaded his raw data
Right.
immediately. And she said, my feeling is, so on GEDmatch, it was 1410, which was way higher than into that.
Okay.
And her feeling was it would be for that 1410. It was definitive, but she still
Everybody wants those numbers to be a little
right
higher.
Right.
Yeah.
So then she talked to Leah Larkin,
Okay.
who was another friend.
Yeah.
And she looked at it, and then Leah convinced a gentleman in England named Andrew Millard to run a simulation using a technique that he had recently developed.
Woo! We got a
So
whole
it was
team
really
on this.
getting into the nitty gritty
Yeah.
of things, and these are graphs and charts that I can't begin to understand.
Right.
Like I don't even, So he ran the simulation, and while he was doing that, I was just talking to Leia.
Yeah.
And like just to
Sure,
see,
yep.
just to talk me through it and to, say, we're going to get there. We'll figure this out. And then finally she said, okay, the results are in. Do you want me to tell them to you now, or do you want us to post them on the page?
Yeah, tell me.
Nope.
Julie. Okay. All right.
I don't know why.
Okay.
I think because I felt like she was okay. She was like, do you want me to tell you or should I post them?
Yeah.
It sounded like she was being positive about it. So I was
Okay.
like, okay, post them. So she posted them and I looked at them and it was official.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
your half brother.
Right.
Okay. Cool.
Even though I'd already announced it on my blog page.
Right.
This was it. This was the conclusion. So they posted a picture of this crazy graph that I still don't understand, showing how there's no way that he could be my cousin.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And just by these dots, apparently.
So that's your answer.
Yes.
You've got it.
I've
His
got
dad's
it.
your dad.
Yes.
Julie.
Clive Edgar Fisher is my biological father.
And refresh my memory as to why we didn't ask the father to take a DNA test. Was it because we just didn't want to involve him yet at this point?
No, the father passed away in 2007.
Julie.
Did you forget?
I forgot.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, Clive passed away in 2007 of mesothelioma. So I was never going to know the full story, obviously, but at least we could, be definitive about it. So I messaged Rob and I sent him that
It's
picture
official.
and I said, look at this. So, yay.
Yeah.
We were happy.
Great.
It was done.
We did it. You did it.
I did it. I did it when all these people said, well, I guess you're never going to know.
Yeah.
Well, guess what?
You did it.
I am going to know.
Yeah. You figured it out. Like, that's
Right.
such a huge victory.
It
It's
was.
insane.
It felt amazing. It was, yeah.
That is a story of overcoming adversity like I've never heard before. It's a big deal. I'm really, really proud of you. But also, what is that like to find out you did it, but he's dead?
Well, I knew he was dead, so I'd already prepared for it.
Okay.
But of course, all of these pictures meant something different to me now.
Right.
And I've done. I'll put it on the Facebook group, guys, where I've done side by sides of me and my father, me and my brother, me and all my children and my father. They all look a little bit like him in different ways. The thing for me that is definitive is the eye color. He has full lips like me. Little widow's peak, and they both have a chin cleft, and I have a very slight chin cleft. And then there's one picture of my I can call him my brother now, of Rob and I that were at the same angle, and it's crazy how much we look alike.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you post that? Okay.
And Rob is a really good resource because obviously he knew your father and he was able, I'm sure he was able to give you a wealth of information about him as well.
Yeah, he knew my father better than anybody, actually. He was certainly the closest. Let me explain. There are 4 kids.
Okay.
The oldest is a daughter who was born 11 months after me. Rob has told me that he believes that his parents had met very soon. Not very soon. His parents had met.
They didn't know each other very long before they got
hadn't
married.
known each other very long before they got married.
Right.
Because I believe she was pregnant.
Right.
So that explains a lot.
Yep.
That also is a little relieving to me because his mother can't be too mad at me, I guess.
No, not at all.
I mean, she shouldn't be mad at me, but at least he didn't cheat on her as far as I know.
Right.
I don't think. So, and also I found out actually weeks later, Rob had forgot to mention that his parents had been divorced since the 80s.
oh boy.
They weren't even together when he passed away.
That's so crazy.
Which to me was just a little more comforting. I don't know.
No,
why.
I definitely, because I think you had without knowing that, you're like the delusion of this amazing, wonderful family you could have been part of, but it wasn't. It was a divorced family.
No, it's not even that.
Okay,
actually.
sorry to put words in your mouth.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's not it. It's just because I wouldn't. I think regardless, I would never have been a part of this family.
Sure.
Because had he known about me, I doubt that he himself would have kept me.
Okay.
And then got married to this woman and.
Okay.
I'm just being
I get it. Yeah.
real. So the sister and the mother live in Queensland,
Okay.
which is way north.
Great.
They're way south. They have moved there. The sister was estranged from the family for quite a while.
Okay.
I don't think she got along actually with our father very well. She was
Okay.
a bit rebellious and there are 2 other brothers.
Okay.
So Rob, there's the oldest brother, John, who when he was born with epilepsy and they didn't know.
Oh boy.
So he had his first seizure on a porch and fell from the porch while he was
God.
having a seizure and had a brain injury. So he has been intellectually disabled for his entire life.
Okay.
And he's spent most of his life in a place that takes care of him and takes care of his needs. He's, he walks, he's functioning.
Right.
But he doesn't understand a lot.
Okay.
And so that's John. And Rob has a twin,
What?
a fraternal twin.
Okay.
His name is Rodney.
Cool.
And he was born with an intellectual disability.
Wow.
So, and Rob, he's a little more high functioning, and Rob has basically taken care of both of them since their father died.
Oh, wow.
And he now works with the disabled.
Both John and Rodney he's taken care of? Rob has?
Yes. Well,
Okay.
John takes care of him. He makes sure he's taken care of,
Okay.
and he visits him all the time.
Gotcha. Okay.
And then Rodney actually lives in our father's old house,
Wow.
which is a few blocks away from
Where Rob lives.
Rob and his wife and kids. And so he is pretty, like I said, high functioning. He just needs people nearby, but he can take care of himself and what have you.
Right.
So I have 3 brothers and a sister.
I have a question, Julie. What happened, or did you talk to your birth mother now that you had this confirmation of who your birth father was? Because if we go back, your birth mother swore that it was Malcolm, that your father was Malcolm.
Right. So the last time I had asked her about this was when I'd sent her the pictures of Clive and Max with their names and said, hey, are these guys familiar? And she said, never heard of them, never seen them. So that's the last time I said anything. So I finally did, when I did my announcement, it was on the blog page. And it basically said, introducing my father, blah, blah, blah. And I just said, this is, it's taken me a long time. I didn't mention Lynn at all.
Right.
And, and I sat there and I watched people responding. And then Lynn responded, which I thought was strange. Why is she responding?
Yeah.
And she said something like, I'm sorry, I don't remember this man. And, I didn't want that there just because but ultimately I left it there.
Yeah.
Because people ask me all the time, what does your mother say? And I think it explains everything that she's being very genuine and that she doesn't remember.
Right.
And I have to give her that. So I left that there, but immediately after, my half-sister on her side posted something horrible about my father.
Okay.
And that was completely unnecessary, especially if he's not around to defend himself. And it was there for a few seconds.
Right.
And then I saw it immediately and deleted it immediately, but not before Rob saw it.
Okay.
So he saw it.
Yeah.
And he immediately texted me and said, well, that was a nice thing for her to say. I'm like, I'm so sorry. It was just so out of left field and wrong.
Right.
So, so she's not allowed to post anything on my page anymore.
Yeah, something's going on there. Yeah.
I mean, she was, I have to give her a little bit because I think she felt like her mother was being marginalized and she said something like, because I, of course, said, what are you thinking? And she said, well, my mother has rights too. And I said, well, of course she has rights too, but I have to, I'm not taking any of her rights away. But who are you to come make these accusations? Anyway, so we haven't spoken since then, but it's okay.
I'm not going to ask you exactly what she posted, but what she posted, did that tell you that she actually knew who this man was, your birth father?
No, it said that she thought perhaps he had done something terrible to our mother. And it's just not appropriate. And I have nothing to say to that because I'll never know. And from what I know about him, he seems like an amazing individual, and she doesn't remember. So how can she accuse him of anything? Anyway.
Yikes.
So that's the story. And so Lynn still doesn't remember. And, that's just the way it is. So that's life.
How do you feel?
About Lynn not remembering?
About the whole thing. You found him.
I feel amazing about that. Unfortunately, there were other things going on in my life at the same time this was happening.
Sure.
So it was kind of a yin and yang, because the other thing that was happening was very negative and dark. I wasn't able to fully enjoy the victory, if that makes sense.
It makes perfect sense.
Yeah. So it was, and I still feel great. I mean, I'm happy about it. I wanted to go visit them. I haven't been able to yet.
Yeah.
Hopefully soon. And there, I'm gonna end it without a cliffhanger, everybody.
Woo! No, there's so many cliffhangers. We got to know your nieces, your nephews, your cousins.
There's
Well, this is a very satisfying ending.
Yeah.
Yay, satisfying ending.
We did it. 20.
Yay, 20. And it's over.
Great.
But it's not over, guys. There's so much more.
So much more.
So much more. See, I put one in there anyway. All right. So congratulations, everybody. Now you know.
Great.
No more spoilers.
It's amazing.
Yes.
The story's nuts.
Renee, tell people where they can find you.
I would love nothing more. I am on Twitter at Renee Colvert. I'm on Instagram, Renee S. Colvert. I have a podcast called Can I Pet Your Dog? And I'm an occasional panelist on a show called Allison Rosen is Your New Best Friend.
I am Richard Castle. I have a website, richardcastle.com. I'm a musician and lyricist and erstwhile producer. I like that word, erstwhile. Ersatz? What's that?
Something.
Let's look it up and put it on Corrections Corner. And you can follow me on Twitter at Castle Songs.
And I'm Julie Dixon Jackson on Twitter. I'm at Jules Jackson with 2 O's. You can find the podcast on Twitter at Cutoff Jeans Pod. Go ahead and join us, ask us questions, participate. It's really fun. There's also a Facebook group called the Cutoff Jeans Podcast. And you can email me at julesjackson@cutoffjeans.com. So that's it.
That's it. We
Yep.
did it.
Woohoo!
It's a big deal. This is awesome.
I feel somehow relieved again.
Yeah. All over again.
Yeah.
For your listeners too. We did it, team, as a group.
Yep.
We did it.
All right. And there's one more thing I need to leave you all with. And as always, the truth is in your jeans.